All right, what's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the ROX Lab podcast. We got another special guest on today, Daria. How's it going?
Hey Matt, good. How are you?
Going good. So, just to start off, for the people who don't know you, and you help run the training lab. So, what is the training lab, and how do you guys incorporate HYROX into your gym?
Yes, I am a co-owner and COO of the Training Lab in New York City. We only have one facility. It's located right in Midtown Manhattan. We've been around since 2017, and we've been integrated with HYROX since it first came to the States in 2019. Kind of one of the OGs in the game, pre-COVID. And yeah, so we were kind of already doing hybrid style training, barbell movement integration with conditioning pieces and stuff. So when High Rocks came onto the scene, it was kind of like the perfect fit for us, our community, and what our ethos already was. So we kind of just jumped right in. And yeah, we've been riding the High Rocks wave ever since 2019.
That's awesome. And a big part of why we're chatting today is there's a Perform Better Summit and the ROX Lab Summit that's coming up. Three different locations. There's one in Providence, there's one in Chicago, there's one in Long Beach, and you're going to be at Long Beach and Providence.
Yes.
Is that right for both of those?
Yes.
And describing some of the stuff that are going on there. But before we do that, the reason you're not going to be at Chicago is because you're at World Championships.
Yes, I will be at the HYROX World Championships in Stockholm. I'm still working on qualifying myself, but I have about 15 athletes competing. So there to support them, be part of the journey. I might be working with a few different brands and companies there, doing some activations and things. But yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to attend Chicago because I'll be in Sweden.
A good reason, a good excuse. For the well, just give me I guess broad strokes overview of kind of some of the topics that you guys are going to be talking about at this summit, at this Rocks Lab Summit.
Yeah, so as it pertains to the ROX Lab Summit, we're primarily, or my focus primarily, is to kind of lean into the business aspect of HYROX. Um, the Training Lab was a business and brand prior to HYROX even coming to America. So, as much as we are immersed in HYROX, it is only one branch of our offerings and things that we do. And over the past, I guess it's been about 7, 8 years now since 2019. Like I said, we've been figuring out how to um, utilize high rocks within our community and within our business to help grow, right? To help grow and leverage us in another avenue in the fitness industry. So, how have we done that over the past couple of years? How have we looked at our demographic, our market, created events, community style type events? Fitness type competitions to fill the market, to teach and inform people about what High Rocks even is, and how to use that and use High Rocks in the business aspect um, on the gym facility side.
Totally. All right. Really cool. Yeah, like you said, it's been it's really exploded. I mean, in New York City, in the U.S., worldwide. It almost seems like a no-brainer for a lot of these gyms to get really interested in high rocks and go in and and go after it and implement it into their gym. But I think a lot of people are like, how do I do that? So I think that's where your expertise is going to be super helpful. And it kind of give me like a little bit of like a I know it would be impossible to go over everything in a small podcast, but like what would what would be a gym owner's maybe like first step that they could take if they're high rocks interested?
Yeah, well, the first step I would say is to understand the demographic and the community in which your gym is serving, right? And figure out how High Rocks is relevant to them and how on a day-to-day basis they could relate or see High Rocks as being beneficial or useful to them, right? We all know that it's good for our physical and our mental, but not every person, general population person on the day-to-day sees, oh, this High Rocks race, and they're like, yeah, this is really good for my mental, physical, and emotional health, right? But it's for us to inform them, and depending on the type of community you have or the demographic population within your facility, those could be different things, right? So it's really about you understanding your business, seeing what's in front of you, and then figuring out how to get those two things connected, and providing different opportunities for your community to continue to learn and then understand and create those assumptions and values on their own, right? Oh, this is going to be really good for my physical. If I keep training, this is going to help me mentally, physically, emotionally, and all those aspects. Once they come to that conclusion themselves, right, then they're going to be bought in. So I think that's the first barrier that as a gym owner kind of needs to be crossed. Sorry, my dogs, of course, want to play right now in the background.
No worries at all.
Um, but that would be the first thing, is to really kind of look at your business, your community, your offerings, and see how to connect HYROX and your community, and then start from there.
And a kind of a question on top of that. Um, so what do you see that like a business that's getting into it? What do you see that maybe separates someone who's like becomes really successful in implementing HYROX versus someone who kind of misses the mark a little bit? Like any factors that you notice?
I mean, I think the main factor is getting that community connected and that community bought in, right? Once an individual or a person creates that connection themselves, it's not just like you saying to them, "Hey, this is going to be good for you." Once they have the experience and they decide inside their own brain, "Oh, this will be good for me. Yes, it's hard, but I have to put in the training hours. That's going to be good for the consistency of just my long-term health," right? Me overcoming these hard obstacles is good for me mentally, physically, emotionally, right? To overcome other barriers and obstacles that I may face in life. So I think the main thing is getting the right connection with the community, getting them understanding why this is valuable, why this is beneficial. And then on to like after that, it becomes more fun, right? The training and all that becomes more fun to learn around, play with, logistics, schedule, and then you kind of get into the more like nitty and gritty of things. But I think if it's kind of more like just a superficial layer that you're adding on top that the community isn't really connected to, they're not really going to buy into it, right? I feel like that kind of in general with anything. Um, if
Totally.
if you're not if you're not bought into it, right, like it's gonna
Right.
just be like, yeah, okay, no problem. But when you really understand the true value, or you see the value as an individual, then you're kind of all ears and ready to like, do
Yeah.
whatever.
No, that to me makes total sense because like knowing you and having talking to you a few times, obviously you're super bought into it. Like, and I can see that your members around you are like you're leading by example. So people are like, oh, you're doing great with it. You be like your fitness is awesome. I'm like I want to do what she's doing. I want to compete what she's doing. Versus like maybe like a gym that's like, we all by the way we have a HYROX class, but maybe the coaches aren't really into it or the gym isn't really into it. The members are probably like, well, I don't really care about that either. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. It definitely comes from the top down. So I do think leading by example, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're winning or you're podiuming or you're the most fittest or top end athlete, right? It just means that you're also bought into this type of training. This is what you believe in. This is also what you want to do. You participate because you appreciate and understand those same values. Um, and then I feel like it just kind of trickles down from there. But definitely, yeah, connecting the community, and then I guess leading by example, and also being bought into it as a facility operator, or whatever you want to say, kind of are the first two barriers. Once that, and I think those are the hardest two barriers, and those are the ones that take maybe the longest to establish. But once those barriers are kind of broken, then I feel like things start to snowball in the right direction. And then the leverage as a business owner, you really start to see come in.
yeah, that makes sense. Which another similar question for you. So because you kind of mentioned, all right, you don't necessarily need to be winning world championships, but at the same time, be bought in. So, how do you, from a client perspective, and I think this is a good question for you because you guys have all types of clients at your gym. How do you find a balance as far as like with the training? Because you have some people who are probably like, no, I do want to compete at Stockholm, and then you might have other people who are like, no, I just want to do this for fun, for fitness. I like these type of workouts. Like, how do you find that balance, like with your gym, with your classes?
Um, well, the training lab's main ethos is kind of all about just show up and give effort mentality. It doesn't, like I said, effort is maybe different between individuals, but as long as you're showing up for yourself, you're trying, you're exuding that you're trying, right? Then that kind of line of respect is drawn in the sand, and we're there to push each other to get better. So that's kind of our ethos as a whole, as a business. So with that mentality kind of in place, people see HYROX, especially inside our community, um, in a number of ways. Yes, we have some super competitive athletes that are, pushing limits, getting into the Elite 15, qualifying for worlds, traveling all over the world, the country, breaking PRs. We have other people that are just learning about it. They're interested, they want to push themselves, but they have a lack of knowledge. We have other people that know what it is. They like the physical and mental challenge, and they're there to push themselves, further and further, whether that's um, PRing, running better, understanding race logistics better, doesn't necessarily mean podiuming, but maybe placing better within kind of their peer view and understanding their overall fitness in general. So we try to supply all of those different categories together, but then also separately. So we have our general HYROX classes that are going to just kind of supply the masses as you come and you talk to the instructors. You're going to learn more little by little, the bits and pieces, the particulars of penalties and rules and stations. And then we have kind of our next tier, which is I would say, our competition team. They're people who want to, again, competition team makes it sound like they're a super top tier athlete. Yes, they can be, but it doesn't necessarily mean so. It's someone who's committing to themselves and they're training. Here's my A race. I'm going to train X, Y, and Z. They get privatized, individualized programming that's all catered towards them, whether they need more help in the running aspect, the strength, pacing, based off of their week. They work one on one with the owner, Ruben himself. So they're kind of locking down, hey, I'm committing to this. They're going to have an A race, a B race, and have like weekly check-ins and kind of a set privatized individualized programming. Yes, that does come with a separate premium, right? But that's part of the same business logistics that we're kind of talking about now. So that caters to people of all levels, but want something more than just a class, right? They want something a little bit more specific towards them to get them more closer to their goals faster, right? It's way more specific than a general class. Um, and then we have, I would say, kind of like the next tier of people who are on the brink of qualifying for age group worlds, are in age group worlds, are kind of in that next elite level, where they're doing everything, right? They're doing the HYROX classes, they're doing their own programming, they're putting the hours in on the mobility, the recovery, the eating, right? They're bought into this almost on like a daily basis, and we provide support for them in not only the programming, we have privatized groups, we have privatized classes that we do certain highlights on them and stuff. So we try to cater to all different needs separately. And then on top of that, we have a general, just giant community forum chat that is all inclusive to everybody, um, all training questions, logistics, you know, like a giant forum. But that's taken a while to figure out and get all of that together. But not every community maybe has all of those needs and maybe has them immediately, right? I don't think We didn't originally have the comp team. We've had the comp team now for 4 years. More recently, this is the most people that we've had qualifying for Stockholm Worlds, figuring
That's
out how
awesome.
to provide support for those athletes in ways that they may need different than what we've currently been doing. And then, yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. You and to expand on the forum piece of it a little bit, do you guys also run? I mean, you have everything within the walls of the gym. Do you also do like outside events, even like social events, or I know you do the competitions, but other events outside like that?
Um, so we in the past, I would say we've changed with, we've changed with what we've seen is relevant in our current market. So a couple years ago, when COVID was going on, there wasn't as many USA races. We decided to host a couple in-house events. We had our Stairway to HYROX event. We had our HYROX Heavy event, which was relative to the Go Ruck division that they had at the time. And then we've had a HYROX Sim multiple times, and those did great. They performed well back in 2021, 22. During that time, that was needed in the market. A lot of
Mm.
people were looking for events to attend. They were looking for more people, communities to train with, understand what this new High Rocks craze was about. Then I feel like somewhere around 23, 24, there was a shift, right? We've had an increase in high rocks races, and especially now, more recently, 2025, 26, huge increase in high rocks races. There's almost like one every other weekend, right? So the demand for in-house events is not really there anymore. So we shifted focus to more education at a higher level. We found a higher or we found an increase in clients that were interested in high rocks but needed a little bit more of the quote basic information. It's not really basic information, but information that someone who's already immersed in the high rocks culture kind of takes for granted every day. What kind of shoes do you use? Gels, you know, oh, you have to put your hands close to your feet, all the little things. So we found a increase in need for knowledge. So we switched our mindset and our opportunities from an event based experience to now an informational and knowledge based kind of clinic or seminar summit, you shall say. So we've done that the past couple years, um, and that went great. And this year we are planning to host some social Sunday 10Ks, just like like some outdoor runs. Um, but other than that, we do host some like community game nights, or we host usually an end of the year kind of holiday party. Um, but yes, I would say a lot of our socialness is actually done inside the gym during class, before and after class. A lot of our classes are teamwork, group based. Some of them not, but a lot of them are very interactive, right? You're not just kind of going through the stations one by yourself. And if you are, you're still engaging with a lot of other people in the class and in the room. So a lot of social activity done inside facility, yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. Um, and you mentioned obviously like you're shifting gears as being like a kind of like OG in many ways in the higher rock space, doing more educational type seminars, which hence what we're talking like the ROX Lab Summit. So like
Yes,
people get
exactly.
really information from you by attending the ROX Lab Summit. So we're kind of bringing it back to that. Question for you, kind of changing gears slightly. So I'm kind of asking these questions as if I'm a gym owner who's running a gym, maybe doing some class-based fitness, maybe not. And I'm interested in like maybe adding high rocks to my facility. Um, Maybe let's start with like what type what kind of like spacing do I need? What would be nice to have versus what's non-negotiable spacing and equipment to start running some of these things?
I don't know what I would. obviously every facility is going to be different depending on what space you do have and what availability and access you have to as far as equipment and things. So I don't really think I think you could necessarily kind of maybe have nothing and still figure out some sort of preparation. Obviously that's not ideal. And as a gym owner, right, you would have to be very transparent with the client. Hey, like, we've got nothing. We're working with nothing, but we're going to do the best we can to work on your engine, your aerobic capacity, your muscular endurance, and how we're going to implement different things. Maybe we're going to be doing a lot of hill sprint repeats with some, squat and lunge jumps and burpees in between for some muscular locomotor fatigue. So I wouldn't say there's a non-negotiable. It's figuring out what you do have access to. If you have a small space, right, knowing how to utilize that space for its maximum efficiency with people. Maybe you have to keep it a smaller scale class. Maybe you have to do some sort of hybrid programming between class in-house once a week, and maybe these clients have access to another facility or running or something else. So all of this is very like individualized and personalized to everybody's specific gym, spacing, equipment, community, right? And like how these people are even training and what their training goal is, could all be variables here, which I know is not really much help to answering your question. Um, but I think the main thing is um getting your clients to understand that you are knowledgeable and you know what you're talking about, for them to feel that you are able to prepare them with whatever it may be in front of them, and they're okay with that, as best as you can, you know, for the race.
This is going to be a super hypothetical, but like, let's say as a gym owner, I'm like, all right, I'm willing to invest 5,000 into getting. I have no equipment. Like, I have $5,000. What should I buy?
You have zero equipment. So actually I did an article, and $5,000 in the fitness world is like slim to none. So I did an article for Women's Health magazine on training at home for HYROX on minimal equipment and minimal space. It was basically off of using a jump rope and some dumbbells or a kettlebell in like a yoga mat style space. I would say a lot of running can be done outside, so no equipment really needs to be purchased there. If I would say, maybe you're putting me on the spot here.
No,
I'm in
sorry.
my head. Honestly, in my head, I'm going back and forth between a C2 bike and a rower. Um, I think the C2 bike is a little bit better at developing aerobic capacity in a broader spectrum, but rowing, obviously, there's a small bit of actual rowing in the race, so that is a little bit more applicable. Obviously, being able to ski and row and touch these implements and practice somewhat slightly before the race would be ideal. If I mean, a sled and plates and like turf, like to get turf is like $4,000 for like 2 or 3 lanes of turf. So I don't really know with your budget if you can get turf and a sleds, or it depends kind of on surfaces, and things. But obviously, if you just have some heavy weights that you can mimic for weighting, some squats, lunges, even doing thrusters instead of a wall ball. I think some of those things are more easily mimicked than kind of the form on the machines, and maybe the sleds. Everything else I feel like could be done pretty minimally. Um, so yeah, maybe one sled and on a surface that it can move on. It doesn't necessarily have to be on turf. Sleds move on other surfaces. So
Yeah, that was one thing. I bought a sled on Facebook Marketplace the other day, which I know a way to save money too. And I was asking the guy, I'm like, "Did you use this on turf or is it on pavement?" Because I was using it for turf. He's like, "No," because I know they wear out the plastic
yeah,
wear here. But
yeah,
he's
for
like,
sure.
so, so if you're using it for that, that's great. But if, like going from one to the other can be tricky. No, it's cool. I was just curious. It's a good hypothetical. So probably not going and buying. If you have 5 grand, go buy like two ski ergs. It's probably not the best bang for your buck.
No, I don't think so. Even if you're trying to host like a class or something, I would say, and trying to get the sleds, maybe even like a rower. If you could, I mean, rower and skier are each $1,000, and so is a C2 bike. If you could get like a rower, a skier, a C2 bike, and like a sled and a rope without a turf, like that would probably be ideal.
Pretty sad. Yeah. No, totally. That was, uh, and then kind of this is a kind of a follow up question to that. As a same thing. Potential gym owner. I'm looking at HYROX classes. I want to make sure it's going to be financially worthwhile. Obviously, if I'm going to invest some money into it. As a question, like, do you think it's worth it? Obviously, and then two, like, how do you feel like it's as far as like the logistics, like membership, client retention, like different revenue streams, like what have you seen obviously with your own business, and what do you see like potentially this can help other gyms make it worth it to add this in?
Yeah. I mean, starting off anything kind of new inside your facilities always needs a little bit of time to kind of get started. Again, for people to learn and understand, get curious, test it out a little bit, um, formulate some opinions. First, I would say you should kind of test your market. Is there any interest, right? Like, how big is the interest? What are your current financials? What kind of money do you have to invest, if any? What are your current what's your current setup? Can you make something work for right now with what you have, even if it's on a smaller scale, for people to start to learn and talk, right? And kind of go through that um beginning phase with less of a financial kind of burden. Also making sure you put it into a time slot that is going to be feasible for people to attain and get to. A lot of times when we're adding new things onto our schedule, we'll put it in maybe less desirable or not really ideal slots because we have other classes there that are, pumping in, regulars and whatever. If you're not putting it in an optimal time slot, then you're not really giving it the chance that it needs maybe to grow in that sense. So just thinking about how to optimize what you already have while you're starting to integrate the idea into your community and starting to again increase their information and their knowledge about it. You have to slowly again start to get them to see those values on their own. So then they're bought in. Then you're like, hey guys, um, I want to make a couple purchases. I'm putting a couple more of these classes on the schedule. Maybe you increase your membership. Maybe these extra High Rocks classes are not included, or maybe you have a High Rocks programming that you offer that these people get open gym or something and they can do it on their own. There's a lot of ways you can have different revenue streams. It's figuring out also what is the best way to get it started in your community. Um, and then growing it from there, right? Because we were not offering all these offerings off the bat. We weren't like, here you can do online programming, here there's classes, here we have a comp team, join this forum, do this, do that. We have run club on Sundays, by the way, and we all meet up on Saturdays for a drink, whatever it is.
Yeah,
It wasn't all of that to start.
sure.
So you have to find where the right starting point is for you, your community, where it's not going to be financially detrimental, while you are in those quote growing pains of introducing a new program into your studio. And then you've got to also put in the work, right? You have to then, I would say, the third most important thing on top of the community connection, like I said, I forget what I said the second one was, but I would say is creating establishing yourself, your facility, your staff as the premier, most knowledgeable
Mm.
HYROX places in the vicinity. My clients and I've been in the game for a long time. I've done over 30 HYROX races. I've trained a lot of people. Um, I'm not saying this to toot our own horn, but we are the most knowledgeable in the area. And people are like, why would I go anywhere else?
Sure.
I have new people coming in and they're like, they just start coming here and they're like, oh, I told my friend I'm training for HYROX. And they're like, well, obviously you're going to the training lab to train. So if you create that establishment of you guys you know what you're talking about, you're providing top quality knowledge information, then that's going to talk, right? Nothing is stronger than word of mouth, especially in the fitness community. Um,
Well,
if you do that, then you're going to be golden. But you've got to then be patient. It's a little bit of a patient game. We were not reaping the benefits like we are now 5 years ago. So, and then you've got to be also um, willing to adapt and go with the flow and maybe say, let's try something different. Let's try an event. Oh, you know what? That didn't work, or this isn't going to work. Let's cut our losses, and figure out how to, like, the whole thing is leveraging your community, the people you have in front of you, right? And monetizing it, period. Yeah.
I think that's great. I mean, I think that's a bigger lesson for business in general too. But like figuring out like you said, like all right, from day one of you making a decision to do this, like we don't have to have like an event, an ice cream social, a run club, this, that, the other thing. Like, no, just figure out where your entry point is, focus on that, and then and maybe make pivots along the way. But find just and I think people hearing that will be like, it's because all of it almost sounds overwhelming. Like, oh, I got to do this. Like, no, don't do all of that. Figure out what you need to do first, and like talk to someone like you. Figure out what you need to do first. Focus on that, and then expand from there. So that's kind of a nice like I can take my breath out. Like, all right, it's not too much. Like, it's like just figure out what the right move is first, which is
Yeah,
good.
totally. You gotta open the door, get your foot in the door, and then it's just like baby steps.
Yep. Which back to the summit, Rock Summit. This is kind of I think similar question, but um, so at the summit, you're at Providence and Long Beach. You're going to be at the World Championships in Chicago, so we'll miss you there. But what is and again for gym owners out there, for audience, what is something you're gonna teach that gym owners like they're not gonna want to miss? Like what's something you're gonna teach that's like gonna be like super important? If you're to pick like one
Um, I
thing.
mean, I don't know. Listen, I hope that everyone can at least just take away some small bit of information that they find useful to them in their business, and what someone needs in this given moment might not be the same for someone else. Um, but I think if anything, I think the most important is I give them an idea on a first initial step or a starting point on how to start something in their community, whether it's a thought, an idea, a way to maybe just initiate integration, even at the quickest of like tomorrow, even if it's just an announcement. Hey guys, there's this new thing. I want everyone to check it out, and let me know if you think this would ever be something cool. Um, or it could be something way more, deep than that, than like, yeah, I really feel like my clients are asking for a sim, there's nowhere to do one, I want to try to tackle that battle or whatever it is. So if everyone could just leave with at least one small piece of information that they find helpful to their business, or initiating HYROX into their business, I think would be a win for me. Yeah.
Awesome, that's a great answer. Kind of a follow up question to that. The summits obviously have all sorts of people. You have with trainers there, PTs, massage therapists, athletic trainers, gym owners, educational people in the industry. For your seminars, who should be in the room? What type of people are you looking to have in the room?
Well, I would say, I mean, most of the topics that I'm speaking on at the ROX Lab Summit is going to be geared towards this business aspect and integrating HYROX into your facility, into your community, and how to monetize it. So ideally, I would say it would be gym owners, um, also trainers, right? For them to understand maybe how to create some different ideas for, because a lot of people do like just kind of their own training. They're not necessarily tied to a facility or a gym, right? Someone who wants to kind of leverage HYROX maybe as a second revenue stream on top of their PT or integrate it into their personal training clients. So I think those are probably the two main people, but all of these people that you just mentioned, physical therapists, other fitness professionals, speakers, HYROX is there. There's some sort of pathway from HYROX that leads to monetization for them somehow. It's just them figuring it out and how to leverage it, right? Like a physical therapist, like I mean, I go to physical therapy every 3 weeks for maintenance. I mean, so I think, it's just figuring that out as far as it goes with the industry. But mainly I think gym owners and how to integrate into your everyday community.
Hey, as a PT, I'm gonna have to take that clip and just like repeat that everywhere. Be like, come to PT, come to PT. It's good for you. You don't have to be injured. It's good for
Yeah,
wellness.
no, I do it more for
Plan
like preventative stuff. So yeah, and honestly, knock on wood, I have been injury free.
Great. So I have a final question, then I have just selfishly a fun question for you. But if someone it is an easy one, but if someone wants to learn or connect from you, I mean, obviously go to the ROX Lab Summit, the Providence location in Long Beach. But other than that, how can they connect with you? Follow Instagram, website, or see you at the training lab in New York City?
Yeah, so yeah, there's a number of ways you can get in contact with me. I'm at the training lab almost 7 days a week in New York City. I also run not only my personal social media, which I'm not on that much. It's at Daria Daria DASP DASP, and then I also I don't do all of the social media for the training labs page, but I do kind of oversee it. So I'm answering all the messages. So you can go to the Training Lab NYC directly on Instagram, and that will come right to me. You can also email me at daria@traininglabnyc.com if you are looking for more information on how to kind of go a little bit more in depth on maybe your specific business, the community you have in front of you, how to initiate those first steps on a more specific level to that individual than kind of a broad spectrum as a whole. So you can always feel free to reach out in any of those ways, and I'll be happy to get back to you.
Awesome. All right, and then my final question. So you said Stockholm. So you're working on qualifying for it. How's training going?
Yes. Training is going. So I have I missed qualification with an amazing partner in Chicago by about 90 seconds, so a minute
Oh,
and a half. I went to Cancun with the same partner. We won our heat. We thought we won, and two girls came from the heat behind and they beat us by
oh,
24 seconds. So we got second place there. So we just missed out on the qualification for 20 by 24 seconds. I am gonna try in New York again on a last chance swim because I'm already going to Stockholm. But listen, I'm not getting my hopes up. There's gonna be a lot of competitors in New York. I'm gonna do my best. Listen, the margins are getting smaller. The competition is getting harder. It's an amazing accomplishment to make it to Worlds and to Stockholm. These are people in the top like 0.5% even,
sure.
and they're making the qualifications harder and harder. So qualifying does not define me as an athlete as long as I'm having fun and I'm pushing myself and getting a little bit stronger. But that would be great. What else am I going to say? I am doing the New York City Marathon in November, so I'm kind of going
Cool.
into a little bit of marathon training, which I think for me as an individual will be great for my high rocks training. Um, So yeah, and then planning to try again for next season. We'll see what happens. And yeah, just keep pushing myself again. It's the mental, the physical, emotional growth and longevity that is kind of my life and my ethos, also why I own a gym. So the goal is to hopefully be on that podium when I'm 70 years old. And yeah, keep going.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on and chatting with you. It was so fun to chat with you, and I think the information people are going to get from this podcast will be great. And it's a tip of the iceberg. So obviously there's a lot more depth to it. So we covered a lot of topics, which was great. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the summits.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome.
Have a
All
great
right,
day.
thanks. Signing off. So I'm going.